Well, good evening. This is Hound Dog Steve on Thursday, the 29th of June, coming up on Canada Day, July the 1st. Okay, so this is a quick roundup. There's been so much news going through the newspapers just lately and the media in general. It has just been incredible. And the virtual collapse of CNN, and I'm going to leave the links below for the Project Veritas unveiling of two CNN, a senior producer and a senior political commentator, basically say that the Russian story is absolute nonsense. They have absolutely no evidence whatsoever, and it's a ratings game. And the political commentator actually said that it was a nothing burger. The Trump-Russia story is dying. And so is CNN. You know, the more people realize that news corporations like CNN, like NBC, like MSNBC, ABC, you name it, the whole alphabet soup, they're only out for ratings. You know, and I think this really, you know, this probably turned around about 9/11 when they realized that, you know, filming people jumping out of windows boosted their ratings so high, they just couldn't stop taking that drug, and they've been fear-mongering ever since. I mean, you read the paper, 90% of it is stuff that you should be concerned about, worried about, frightened of. Okay, so they're motivating fear to increase their ratings, and of course there's only so much they can make you afraid of, and so now they're creating stuff, they're creating connections that just don't exist. And I knew all along, I predicted way back that this was going to turn out to be a completely fake news story and a nothing burger. Okay, so I'm going to whip through the news here. I thought this was interesting, caught this today. Canadian poll says that Canadians are satisfied with their institutions. This is done by Environics, and it says Canada is an island of stability amid a Western world roiled by political discontent and populism. The country's trust in democratic institutions steady in the face of upheavals such as Brexit, the election of Donald Trump, according to a new poll from the Environics Institute. Now I'm going to link below the Edelman report. Okay, I did a video on that, and this is the Edelman report is more like a Fraser Institute report. They really do a lot more in-depth polling, questioning, looking at the situation. They came up with exactly the opposite story to this, that 70-80% of Canadians did not think we were going in the right direction as far as globalism is concerned. That 70 to 80% of the country believed that the government was not able to solve many of the issues that we were facing in today's world, and that many, I think 60% of Canadians didn't trust the government. They were realizing, like so many people that I talked to today, that government is not the solution, it is the problem. It is the problem. Okay, so let's come down here and oh, look at this. The online survey carried out in late March and early April amongst slightly more than 1,500 Canadian adults even indicates a rise in positive attitudes towards the conduct of elections and the role of the Prime Minister since 2014, when Stephen Harper was in power, along with a decline in political polarization. 1,500 people. This is a representative segment of 31 million people in Canada. Probably about 15 million adults. Are you kidding me? And are you kidding me that people aren't polarized? Oh my God, talk about fake news. Okay, here's some more fake news. Markets counting on rate increase. Okay, so here we go. We read the story. The Bank of Canada is talking about raising its interest rates. Fancy that. Oh my God, that's so scary, isn't it? Well, as you read through, financial markets are now pricing in better than 2/3 odds that the central bank will be raising its key interest overnight lending rate by 1/4%. Oh my God, what a letdown. You know, interest rates really right now should be about 3 to 4%. Okay, because you need to provide a return for your investors. And I know that will hurt people who are borrowing, but it slows down hot money. It slows down the real estate market. The real estate market is so hot right now. In fact, it's collapsing actually. It's past its hotness. It is now on the collapsing side of things. We haven't quite realized it yet, but prices are dropping, sales are dropping in Toronto, and we have gone past the point, the peak. We're now on the downside. But raising your percentage interest at the the Bank of Canada by 1/4% is essentially nothing. Okay, but if you raised it by 1%, you know, the estimate is that you would throw approximately 30 to 40% of homeowners over the cliff. People have overbought, man oh man. I mean, you figure if you owe a $700,000 mortgage, which is common in Toronto, you're paying about $70,000 a year in payments. That's pretty serious. Anyway, I will guarantee you that the Bank of Canada will be doing nothing too serious with bank rates, because they can't afford to throw that many people over the cliff. No doubt about that. So I don't think you're going to see any serious rate increases. And of course, the other thing I've noticed, at one time when the Bank of Canada changed its interest rate, the big banks, the 5, 6 big banks in Canada, would adjust in lockstep. Now that doesn't happen. The banks make the big banks make their own decisions on what their interest rates are going to be. But I don't see any interest rate increase anywhere in the near future. Okay. Next story. Well, I love this picture. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. There's Angela Merkel shaking hands with Emmanuel Macron. And if you take a look at him, you can see that special place. He's basking in the applause or something, or the adoration of his crowds. And Merkel is so serious. She's, hey, let's shake on that. And he is just in that special place, man. He's not paying any attention to what she's doing. And I'm surprised that they actually published this picture, because it really looks, both of them look like a couple of dummies. Angela Merkel can't realize, that she needs to tap him on the side and go, and then put her hand out. She just sticks her hand out and expects him to get it. And of course, he is just having a personal orgasm there, looks like, actually. What do you think? Anyway, I couldn't resist sticking that in there. No story, just look at these two idiots on stage. Canada not involved in direct combat, PM says. Okay, so this is kind of a funny story. We had a situation the other day, and a Canadian sniper made a kill at something like 3,400 meters. It was the longest kill shot ever made. Okay, so he's got the record. So of course it was publicized in all the papers of, hey, look at this, a Canadian sharpshooter, creates a record, 3,500 meters, kills somebody in Iraq. But of course our troops are not over there on a combat mission. They're over there as advisors only. So now inadvertently, because they've advertised, the spectacular feat of this soldier, and it is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, to be able to fire, take into account all of the, the Earth's rotation and the sun and the wind and all that kind of stuff, and shoot someone from that far away, boy oh boy, that's what you call dead-eyed dick. But now, it's raised this conundrum of what is Canada's role in the Middle East? Are we there as advisors, or are we there for regime change? Or are we there for a military combat role? I mean, this is what we're all looking for in government. It's transparency. This is why government is really struggling right now. All of these institutions are really struggling right now is because they haven't been transparent, and suddenly, you may hate what I'm going to say, but because of Donald Trump, it's upset the apple cart, and everyone is suddenly realizing how we're getting really dealt a backhand called news, but it's not news at all. And transparency with government that is not transparency, it's opacity. That's what we're getting from the government, is opacity in the guise of transparency. People are sick of that. That's why they took a chance on Trump. Because as much as you hate this guy, as much as you think he's a buffoon, he's real. He's a real, he's making mistakes. He's, okay, I made a mistake, we'll try and fix that. He's acting like a real person. That's why it's such a shock, I think, to so many people. And yeah, he's making mistakes, there's no doubt about it. But there seems to be some kind of recognition. That's why people went for Donald Trump. It's because at least he wasn't the status quo. Oh my God! When are the Liberals going to get that? Okay, next story. Who owns the Pride movement? Okay, no picture, but here we go. Who owns the Pride movement? Okay, so we're talking about gay pride, and according to Black Lives Matter, Toronto, and Rodney Diverlus, co-founder of the movement, it belongs to queer and trans people of colour. You know what? They're kind of right. Last Sunday, Mr. Diverlus and BLMTO made a surprise and unexpected appearance at Toronto's Pride Parade. Given how loudly the crowd around me cheered, it was a welcome one. So, I don't really need to go through this whole story. There's been a big issue with Black Lives Matter and the Gay Pride March, because Black Lives Matter did not want the Toronto Police Force attending the Black Lives Matter. So the police force will be there in uniform, but not out of uniform, in a show of support for the Gay Pride movement. And I just find it fascinating that here we have, groups who promote inclusivity, excluding people. I mean, how much sense does that make? Don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing anyone from the LGBTQ community. What I'm saying is, learn to get along. That's the only way forward. From a white supremacist male coming from a privileged position, LOL, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what gender you think you are. It doesn't matter what sexuality or preference that you have. It doesn't matter what colour you are. We're all in this game together. That's an important thing to remember, that we need to be allies of each other, because the divisions in society, they don't go like this. It's not between groups of people at our level. No, the division in society is like this. And so all people who fall below this glass ceiling are treated in the same fashion. And the only way we're ever going to change that is by agreeing on a core set of rules that we're all going to adhere to in the long run. And we're all going to support actively. We have one. It's called the Constitution. Fancy that. I love this story. It's the last story of the evening. And it says, in America, the less you know, the cooler you are. Well, this actually goes for Canada too, because we are being dumbed down in a way that is just absolutely staggering. I mean, nobody reads any articles anymore. Nobody listens to things anymore. Nobody discusses things anymore. It's just anger and frustration, and and I see this all the time. With my videos, the comments that people leave, they're angry. They're angry comments. They're not engage you in a conversation comments. No, I'm not saying all of them, but I'm just saying there are some angry comments out there, and you have to read stuff. As boring as it is, you have to read some of these legislative acts. You have to go onto YouTube or watch C-SPAN, listen to the way some of these people are talking when they're being questioned. Look at who's questioning. I read the Canada-China FIPA. This is a 264-page document. I received the minutes and the agendas for the local council meetings, and and I don't read them all from beginning to end, but I flip through them. If there's something interesting there, I open up and I read it. So I take an interest in the things that are going on around me politically, because everything we do is political. The clothes you buy, the food you eat, the car you drive, where you go for your vacations, the plane you fly on, the kind of credit card that you use, the bank that you use. These are all political statements. And let's face it, we're all in this game together. The decisions that are made in government affect all of us. And we all complain when they make decisions that we don't like. So it's incumbent on us to pay attention. But the staggering dumbing down, I was in a restaurant the other day, and a waitress, just a little sweetheart of a gal. She's about 21, something like that. Anyway, there was a couple in there from Luxembourg, which is a small province between Belgium, France and Holland. And she comes over to a table that we're sitting at, because we know her, and she says, "Oh, they're from Luxembourg." I don't actually know where Luxembourg is. And we had like a little inward chuckle that people don't know this stuff anymore. We had guessing games of capitals of different countries in Europe or around the world. You quite often. It was interesting. A few years back, my parents came over to Canada. My stepfather, who was I think 93 at the time, came with me to a meeting. The election was going on. And so the NDP candidate was there, and we had a meeting. There was about 20 of us there, and I swear to God, my stepfather knew more about the Canadian election than most of the people in that room. Now that is a staggering statement to make. A person from Britain who I'm his only connection with Canada. Okay, me and my two sons. So, we need to start paying attention. I had an interesting description of, the all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid, and, the Masonics and all that kind of stuff. But it was described as, keep your eye on things. The person who keeps their eye on things rises to the top of the pyramid. Think about that. The person who keeps their eye on things rises to the top of the pyramid. So that's what I'm hopefully helping you do in an entertaining way, is helping you keep an eye on things and fleshing out some of these ideas, some of these acts, some of these trends that we're getting into, because oh my god, maybe that's why I don't have a girlfriend, but I find this kind of stuff interesting. I have no problem reading legal documents, even though I'm not a lawyer. I just find it fascinating to read the wordage that they use to put this stuff together. Okay, well, that's it from me, Hound Dog Steve. Please like and subscribe, and we'll be talking to you soon.